Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Drop, presented by Xfinity. Greg Wyshynski, I'm Arda Öcal. We now, in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, have a couple teams that are on the brink of elimination. We have reached this point.
Yes, we have reached this point, and backs against the wall time for the Washington Capitals, backs against the wall time now for the Winnipeg Jets, who, despite their best effort in Game 4 against Dallas, succumbed to the Finnish mafia of the Dallas Stars.
Yes, the Finnish mafia in full strength. Miro Heiskanen returns to the lineup as we show you the highlight, exactly how we got to this point. We are doing the drop literally moments after game number 4. Paige Beckers is in the house. Woo! Taking it all in. This is the Mikael Granlund game, Wish.
It certainly was. Now, this first shot, Connor Hellebuyck said was just a damn good shot, and you kind of have to give him credit for that one. The Scott Arniel, the Jets coach, said it was probably stoppable, though, I think. He wanted that one back.
Second period, the Jets would answer. They would tie the game at 1 on an expiring penalty.
One of 72 shot attempts that the Winnipeg Jets had in Game 4, producing, spoiler alert, only 1 goal.
2-on-1 for the Stars the other way. Granlund says, I'll take it myself. And once again, Connor Hellebuyck beaten glove side.
And also, shout out Mikko Rantanen, who sets up this 2-on-1 with a play in a defensive end, continuing to pace all skaters in points in the postseason.
So the Dallas Stars take a 2-1 lead as we go into the third period, a 4-minute power play, and guess who it is? Granlund again, the hat trick!
The hat trick, he stays on his knees, overcome by the moment. But Matty Duchene puts the puck right off the iron, and then Heiskanen with the pass to Granlund. Hats are on the ice, including some people who wore their Otter hats. They threw them on the ice. That was appropriate considering how good Jake Ottinger was in this game. But 3 shot attempts, Arda, and 3 goals for Mikael Granlund. A study in offensive efficiency in contrast with what the Winnipeg Jets did in Game 4, which is pump a Carolina Hurricanes-esque, I know Rod Brindamore is going to hate that I said that, 72 shot attempts against the Dallas defense, but only producing but 1 goal in the game.
So 3-1 game final, now a 3-1 series. The Jets are on the brink of elimination. Why don't we start with Mikael Granlund? He joins Dino Ciccarelli in 1982 as the only Stars/North Stars players with 2 power play goals as part of a hat trick in the playoffs. What made him so efficient, Wish?
Well, shooting the puck, I know it sounds weird because he only had 3 shot attempts in the game, but on that 2-on-1 with Rupe Hintz, Granlund said after the game, hey, sometimes you've got to keep the puck and shoot it because they don't expect you to. This is a guy who had twice as many assists as goals in the regular season, splitting his time between San Jose and Dallas. The other thing, too, about this, Arda, and it kind of is reference to what I just said, This was a pickup in season for the Dallas Stars. He came over with Cody Ceci. Obviously, they add Rantanen at the trade deadline. Jim Nill, one of the best general managers in the National Hockey League, made the big splash at the trade deadline. But people forget he also made this deal before 4 Nations, getting Granlund in there, getting the center that he needed, and then adding Ceci, who's been an invaluable part of their blue line with Miro Heiskanen being out until this game in the playoffs. Sneaky great move in the shadow of what was the blockbuster at the deadline with Rantanen.
And of course, if we're talking Dallas Stars offense, we have to absolutely talk about Mikko Rantanen. Once again, he got an assist in the game, factoring in. He's now factored in on 16 of the last 20 Dallas Stars goals. He was on a streak of 14 or 15 straight earlier in the series. Listen, in the first few games of the postseason, and quite honestly, second half of the regular season, it was a much different tune that we were hearing about Mikko Rantanen. From your eye, what's changed?
Well, from my eye, he just found his groove. He found his comfort zone. I mean, they smartly put him with the other 2 Finns, Granlund and Hintz, to get him going a little bit. I was in Dallas for Game 3, and Coach Pete DeBoer said something interesting about Mikko Rantanen. He said he's a player that's just warming up and a player on a mission. And so the next day, I said, Pete, first of all, thank you for the great line that Mikko Rantanen is on a mission. We all used it on our stories. But secondly, what'd you mean by mission? And he said, he had something to prove. He's had a very, very unusual season. The trade out of Colorado to Carolina, the trade from Carolina to the Dallas Stars, signing the gigantic contract. There was a lot of pressure on him, not only because of the trade do-si-do and the new contract, but also this is his moment to emerge from the shadow of Nathan MacKinnon, whom he no longer plays with, to become his own superstar. And anyone who's watched Rantanen in these playoffs, in every zone, in every situation, he is really come into sharp focus as being one of the elite players in this league, and will certainly have the numbers to show for it in the playoffs. And if the Dallas Stars do what I picked them to do before the season, Arda, I think this guy waltzes away with the Conn Smythe Trophy for MVP.
All right. Well, another Conn Smythe performance in this game was Jake Ottinger, who stopped all but one shot that he faced north of 30. Now, Connor Hellebuyck had allowed 3 goals on 24 shots. Why don't we lump the goaltenders in one question? Like, how much of this is Connor Hellebuyck's game versus Jake Ottinger's game when you look at the Dallas Stars winning in this one?
Well, obviously, Hellebuyck wasn't the disaster that he was in St. Louis in the 2 games in Dallas. I mean, he wasn't really good. I mean, he let in some very soft goals, and in Game 3, literally put the puck in his own net on that kicked play, that kicked puck by Alex Petrovic. But so what I find interesting about your question, though, is you can't separate who these guys are away from the National Hockey League from where they are in this series. And by that, I mean, Connor Hellebuyck was the starter for Team USA in 4 Nations. Jake Ottinger was his backup. Connor Hellebuyck has been expected to be the starter of the 2026 Olympics for the United States, with Jake Ottinger and a cast of thousands behind him on the American goalie depth chart. Ottinger said something very interesting to Sportsnet after Game 4. He said, outside of winning the Stanley Cup, being the starting goaltender in the 2026 Olympics for the United States is his career goal. Now, he's playing pretty coy about that in every other conversation about Hellebuyck versus Ottinger in the series, saying there's nothing, underlying to their performance. He's just trying to be as good as he can for his own team. But he is a liar. He knows exactly what's happening in this series and what's happening in these playoffs, where Jake Ottinger is getting better and better and making clutch saves and not putting his team in a situation where their backs are against the wall or they're going to lose because of him, versus Connor Hellebuyck, who has now lost 9 of 10 on the road in the last 3 postseasons, I think might be where the number is right now. Hasn't won once on the road in these playoffs, has looked terrible at times in these playoffs, and is a goalie now after 3 postseasons that is getting the rap of being the best goalie in the world in the first 82 games, winning what should be his 3rd Vezina trophy this offseason and maybe even league MVP. But then when it comes to crunch time, when it comes to pressure time, when it comes to spotlight time, not performing. My defense of Hellebuyck here, though, Arda, is he did play pretty well in 4 Nations. He had a really good 4 Nations tournament.
He did.
Maybe
including the final.
Including the final. So maybe the thing is that you still could be confident in him being Team USA's goalie when you have an elite collection of all-stars playing in front of him instead of the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, I thought what you were going to say there was, in defense of Connor Hellebuyck, he is the most well-researched goaltender in the history of humankind because he's read many leather-bound books about stopping pucks. I thought that's where you were going to go, but... Yeah.
He smells of musk and success. I'm a huge Hellebuyck fan. I think he's a great goalie. Yes. I don't know what the hell's wrong with him on the road in these playoffs. I don't know where the yips come from. We saw him put together a great game in Game 2 of this series to get Winnipeg right back into it. But you get him away from Winnipeg, man. That's why I wrote earlier this week on ESPN.com in our roundtable. The first question Team USA officials have to answer about the Olympics next year is, are the games in Milan road games or home games? If they're home games, Hellebuyck's fine. If they're road games, you're screwed.
All right, so let's tie it forward to this series, Game 5 in Winnipeg. So we get home Helly. Do you believe the Dallas Stars will close the series out on the road, or are we looking at a Game 6 back in Dallas?
I think the Jets extend it. They just get to their game better on home ice. I think they had a very strong game in Game 4, to be honest with you. I mean, a couple of power play goals from Granlund obviously hurts on the special teams front, and unfortunate that Hayden Fleury took the 4-minute double minor for high sticking in the third period. That didn't help. But 72 shot attempts. Ottinger had to be really, really good tonight for that three goals by Granlund to stand up and for them to win this game. They were teetering on the brink. It looked like the Jets could take over this game at times. So I think Dallas is going to win the series. I picked them to win in 6 or 7. But I wouldn't be surprised if we have to go back to Dallas for Game 6, because I don't think Winnipeg's quite done yet.
Well, good time to be a Dallas sports fan, right? They get to draft Paige Beckers. They get number 1 overall in the NBA draft. Now the Dallas Stars have a 3-1 series lead over the Winnipeg Jets.
And by the way, nothing but respect for my draft lottery in the National Hockey League, where we know we pulled the little lottery balls out live for everybody to see. No chicanery, no nothing. No, the fix was in. The integrity of the NHL draft greater than sign the NBA draft.
I love it. Greater than sign. I like that. I love how all the stories are coming out now, like 1.7% chance. Look, they won the draft lottery. Big trade happened. They win the next draft lottery, whatever. I love how that's like a big narrative right now in the NBA and in the NHL. Like you said, we got literal live drawings of the lottery balls.
Yeah.
All right, listen, over in the East, the Maple Leafs took a 2-game lead over the Florida Panthers. But the Florida Panthers clawed their way back to tie that series in game number 4.
With Verhaeghe. Bennett drags it, moves it. He scores! What a goal! Sam Bennett brings the house down. 2-0, Florida.
Final horn sounds. The clock runs out. The Panthers have won Game 4, and this series is tied.
That was fun. Let's reset, refocus, and do it again.
And that brings us to It's Boomin', presented by Xfinity. And we're going to focus on the Florida Panthers, Wish, because they are certainly booming. And there is a lot to unpack and celebrate, certainly if you're a Florida Panthers fan. So starting with the Panthers, they have 8 different Panthers with 8 points this postseason. No other playoff team has more than 4 such skaters.
The depth is there for Florida. You know, they lost some people on the supporting cast from last year's team that won the cup, but you know, overall the scoring depth on this team and the everybody pulls their weight kind of mentality of this team is certainly on display in this series and in this postseason. Booming for me, Sergei Bobrovsky is booming, baby. Only goalie with multiple shutouts this postseason. If they're going to repeat, they're going to need more games like he had in Game 4. I said after Game 3, Arda, my biggest concern for the Leafs was twofold. One, they're getting physically out manhandled in this series by the Panthers with those hits. But 2, Bob looked like he was starting to come into form, and we saw that in Game 4. If he's heating up, it's going to be a really tough series for the Leafs to win.
Yep, Cup champion Bob in full effect. Boomin', Carter Verhaeghe. Why is Carter Verhaeghe booming? Well, because he's got 5 points in 4 games against the Leafs, goals in back-to-back games. He's also the first player in franchise history with 30 career playoff goals. He has, obviously with last season's team, a track record of championship success, and he's continuing those vibes against the Toronto Maple Leafs to tie the series.
Booming for me, Arda, the Rat Kings are back. And by that I mean the Florida Panthers don't just play playoff hockey. They poke, they prod, they bludgeon, they beat down teams in the postseason right up to the line of illegality and occasionally crossing that line. They just do it better than anyone else. You know why? Because they do all this stuff in the flow of play. Look at what Max Domi did at the end of Game 4. That's not in the flow of play. That's trying to injure Alexander Barkov at the end of the game with a cheap shot. Leafs fans hate that the Florida Panthers basically are a hit 'em high and hit 'em hard team. And I tend to agree that sometimes there are things that the referees let slip by that probably should be at least penalties in the game. But nobody in this league does it better than the Florida Panthers when it comes to physicality and using that physicality to get inside the heads of their opponents.
Listen, if we're going to have a segment called It's Boomin', then we're going to have to put these guys in the segment when they show up to the arena. It's Boomin', the Costco guys, AJ and Big Justice. They brought the boom, banging the drum and getting the fans to chant "Let's go Panthers," wearing their Florida Panthers jerseys. How about that?
I mean, the lack of any Rizzler here may cost them the cup eventually. But hey, listen, if you're bringing the boom, you got to have the Costco guys to bring the boom. That's for sure.
So this has been It's Booming, presented by Xfinity. Now, as we move along, Stuart Skinner has had his ups and downs as a goalie, but Game 4, he was in control.
Skinner got a piece. Here's Barbashev. He's in. Saved by Skinner. Save from Skinner. That's a good save right there. The Edmonton Oilers are one win away from the Western Conference Final. A 3-0 shutout for Stuart Skinner and the Oilers in Game 4.
And that was absolutely huge. I will get started on winners and losers here on the Drop, presented by Xfinity. And Stuart Skinner is going to lead things off simply because he's also a goaltender like Connor Hellebuyck, maybe a little less defined geographically, whether we believe he will be good or bad between the pipes in a certain game. But we do question what version of Stuart Skinner we are going to get. He made 23 saves for his second career playoff shutout, and it was very much needed for an emphatic 3-0 win for the Oilers to take a commanding 3-1 series lead. But listen, if we're going to drag the guy, we got to throw him his flowers when he deserves them, and he certainly did in that game.
Well, to quote Battlestar Galactica, all of this has happened before and will happen again. Didn't we just see last postseason Pickard coming in for a few games and giving Stuart Skinner a chance to collect his thoughts? This time Pickard goes out with the injury. Skinner comes back in and starts to play really well behind the Oilers again. So not to say that he's going to be the solution, not to say that he isn't fraught with problems as a goaltender in the postseason, just to say that if he can play like he did last game, if he can give them replacement level goaltending like he did last season, they're going to be fine. Loser for me, mocking the storm surge. Tom Wilson, sir, you are one of our greatest meme generators in this league, from the crying to the taunting that we saw against the Hurricanes in Game 4. But listen, the storm surge that the Carolina Hurricanes do to celebrate victories in their home arena, that is sacrosanct. That should be protected. We don't want to discourage something so goofy and weird by having a cool guy like Tom Wilson mock it. So knock it off and let the nerds be cool in their own silly way in Raleigh.
Yeah, nerds are cool. Come on. Nerds are great. Come on. Well, here's a Tom Wilson here. Wait, there's my Tom Wilson.
Like this. Again, I love Tom Wilson creates content. I will never, be disappointed in the fact that he's trying to create content, but not at the expense of the people who gave us Duck Duck Goose to celebrate a victory a few years ago, Arda.
Yep. And Van der Holyfield and bowling on the ice, and yes, it's been great. The storm surge has been fantastic. You know what else is fantastic? Buzzer beaters in hockey. When you get goals in under 3 seconds, which we have seen a few times in these Stanley Cup playoffs so far. This one was quite unfortunate for Leon Draisaitl and the Oilers. Stuart Skinner trying to take the lane away. The puck would not be going in. Leon Draisaitl deflects it in. That's a buzzer beater. 0.4 seconds left. The Jets had a buzzer beater in Game 7, essentially against the Blues with 1.7 seconds to go. So we have had plenty of late, capital L, late heroics. For me, that is a big, big winner, Rich.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Loser for me, look, what's going on with the Leafs? Is it Bobrovsky? Is it the Panthers finding their game? Is it Austin Matthews not producing? What is it that has allowed Florida to get back into the series? Oh, that's right. It's some big dummy on television drawing out a parade route whilst during the intermission show next to PK Subban, the Leafs are now 0-2 since beloved broadcaster Arda Öcal went ahead and planned the parade route live on ESPN. What say you, Arda?
First of all, I draw as well as my 5-year-old. Let's just put that out there.
I missed the guy lifting the cup is a really nice touch, though. I like that a lot.
My 5-year-old's teacher actually saw the Instagram story and texted my wife and I and said, "Wow, I really see where your daughter gets her drawing skills from." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh. Like this could not get any worse. I am down bad after that. That is just, I can't recover from that. It's over. I might as well retire from drawing ever again." Yeah, that was maybe, listen. I didn't say it would be easy. I was just planning the parade. And let me tell you something.
Right.
When capital W, the Leafs defeat the Florida Panthers, I will extend the parade route and I will draw it here on the drop. Okay. And I will ask for your counsel too. I will be like, hey, where should you be, Wish? Where do you want to be? Do you want to be at Nathan Phillips Square? Do you want to be at Yonge and Dundas? I'm going to be asking you.
The great thing about your drawing is that it's an easy fix. You can change some of the street names. There's ample room to draw a few palm trees here or there, maybe some waves out in the distance to represent the Atlantic Ocean. Like, you can clearly retrofit this for when the Panthers win the series.
By the way, in the off season, I keep bugging Merrick to do a wrestling podcast. I always want to do a one-off wrestling show, so we got to do that.
It would be amazing. It would be amazing. He's a fountain of information, and by that I mean like a geyser, like Old Faithful of information. It's too much.
I love it. Give us a winner. Oh wait, no, it's my turn. Winner, Tusks Up. The Utah Hockey Club finally has its mascot. Welcome to the NHL, the Utah Mammoth. Take a look at the logo and these new threads. Now, wait a minute. Is there? I have not seen an actual mascot. I've seen the logo. I've seen jerseys. So I don't know if the Mammoth, who should absolutely be called Wooly the Mammoth, has come into existence yet. If it has, I missed it, and that's a shame because I love mascots with all of my heart. But yeah, these threads are awesome.
Well, listen. As you know, I'm a journalist, and as you know, I'm your friend. So who asked the question of Utah management during the logo reveal than your boy asking, will there be a big, plush, cute, comfy mascot patrolling the games this season? They did, in fact, confirm that there will be a mascot at the Utah Mammoth games this season.
Good.
But when I asked if it was going to be cuddly, they refused to acknowledge that it would be cuddly. So that leaves the possibility, Arda, that instead of getting something that you want to run up and hug, we get a more nightmare fuel, like that Edmonton Oilers mascot whose eyes pierce your soul and has like a 6-pack of abs instead of being a cuddly mascot. So I don't know which direction they're going, but they would not confirm to me that the mascot will ultimately be cuddly.
I got it. Hold on.
Yeah.
I got it. Just 1 second. There's going to be a hooded figure that is going to walk onto the ice in game number 1. And suddenly, with a microphone in hand, the hood will come off, and it'll be Ryan Smith, and he will say, "It's me, Utah. It was me all along, Utah. You bought it, hook, line, and sinker. You all bought it." And Ryan Smith,
the higher power, the higher power,
and the mascot.
I mean, listen, if they wanted to be real punk rock about it, they just make their mascot a Yeti. They couldn't use the damn name, but they could certainly make the Yeti a mascot if they really wanted to, right?
Or make it
Who
a
cares?
thermos, like a thermos. It'll
just break all the rules.
Mascot, make it a thermos.
Yeah, call the mascot Ironic Wink the Yeti, and he just is like, yep, we couldn't do the name, but here I am. Big loser. Everyone who wanted to hire David Carl, who has re-upped on a multi-year contract with the University of Denver. Now, this guy was the most sought-after young coach in the coaching carousel this offseason so far. The Anaheim Ducks wanted him. The Chicago Blackhawks really wanted him. But Carl decided to stay with Denver on a new deal. The Ducks obviously went in a very, 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 very different direction, signing Joel Quenneville to be their new head coach. I do not like the fact that Joel Quenneville is coaching in this league again. I do not think that Joel Quenneville or Stan Bowman should be in this league again after what happened with the Chicago Blackhawks on their watch. Much like Bowman, Quenneville tried to say all the right things at his press conference. I think a lot of it rang hollow to me. And I know personally, there are a lot of Ducks fans that are struggling right now with this hiring. And my heart goes out to anyone who's a dedicated fan of this team that all of a sudden feels a little bit betrayed right now by Pat Verbeek, the GM.
Yeah. Certainly a story that we will continue to follow. There are other coaching vacancies. I know our colleague John Buccigross tweeted out a picture of Rick Tocchet with Sands of the Hourglass and using the Flyers hashtag. So that could be one to watch out for as well. But yeah, certainly the coaching carousel continues on. So that's winners and losers here on The Drop, presented by Xfinity. We're closing in on the halfway point of the postseason, so we wanted to give out some playoff awards. Wish, why don't we start with the Conn Smythe? Who is your early halfway point Conn Smythe favorite?
It can only be one man. It's Mikko Rantanen. I mean, he has been an absolute monster for the Dallas Stars. Like you said, I mean, points on points on points. The streak of like 13 or 14 out of 15 points on Dallas Stars goals. He has been the engine for them, the reason they beat the Colorado Avalanche, the reason they're up on the Winnipeg Jets now. For me, though, like there are some other pretty worthy candidates. Connor McDavid is right on his tail right now insofar as the playoff point lead. He's been fantastic for the Edmonton Oilers. The good news for him is that he hasn't had to do it alone. Their supporting cast has been very strong too. And then shout out to both Willie Nylander of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who I think has been really great for them. And a bigger shout out for Freddie Anderson, who's clearly been statistically the best goaltender in the league so far in the playoffs, with the caveat that the team in front of him has done a heck of a job against both the New Jersey Devils and the Washington Capitals.
All right, we have some not so real awards to give out as well. Why don't we change our focus now as we take a look one more time at the Conn Smythe Power Rankings? Rantanen, McDavid, Nylander, and Anderson round out our list. How about biggest disappointments? Who are we thinking there?
It's got to be Connor Hellebuyck. I mean, this is a guy, like we mentioned before, that's going to win his third Vezina. There's a very good chance he can win the Hart Trophy for league MVP. His postseason numbers over the last three seasons have been terrible, but to get pulled 3 times in the first round against the St. Louis Blues, to not be able to plant his flag on the road in any of these games in Dallas, it's been a nightmarish campaign for him. He doesn't have any answers other than to just try to, win the next one and build on it. And, I never thought we'd see a series, Arda, where the Winnipeg Jets win despite Connor Hellebuyck, but we might have seen that in the first round.
Yeah, absolutely. Austin Matthews can definitely be in that category as well. Lack of goal production, certainly leaving a lot of people wondering, hey, what's up with one of the stars of the league, one of the best goal scorers in the world today, maybe even, second best of our generation behind Alex Ovechkin. So he's certainly a candidate as well. How about the unsung hero?
How about Thomas Harley of the Dallas Stars, man? Miro Heiskanen misses the entire first round, comes back in game 4 for Dallas. Who was holding down the fort in his stead? It was Harley with the Dallas Stars playing huge important minutes, quarterbacking the power play, settling things down, being every bit the star that he was in the regular season without Heiskanen there. Really, 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 when we look back on this Dallas run, one of the reasons why they are where they are right now was the play of Harley with Heiskanen out of the lineup.
I think we're going to have to go back to Toronto for biggest free agent price increase. 1.6 looks pretty appetizing for this category.
I think Mitch Marner's been pretty good. I mean, I know that he hasn't, hit the board in every game, but I think he's been really good and shown a bit of that postseason mettle that teams have been looking for him. That's only going to help increase his price tag to either stay in Toronto or to find greener pastures somewhere else if they don't want to meet the asking price. One other guy, obviously, that I think has also increased his ask is in that Toronto Florida series, and that's Sam Bennett. I mean, he was going to get paid regardless as the final piece of a playoff puzzle for some other team if he doesn't want to stay in Florida. But again, his unique set of skills, Arda, of being able to contribute offensively in big moments while also colliding with the opposing goaltender in key moments, makes him a very, very valuable player for the postseason.
We now move on to one of my favorite awards, the Ray Bourque Award for most deserving old guy without a cup. I think that there are a couple of decent candidates this year.
Oh, there are. I mean, you can go to Dallas with Jamie Benn, who's never won. You can go a couple of different places, but I think the place I want to go is Carolina. They've got a couple guys there. Freddie Anderson's one of them. The other one is, of course, Brent Burns, who was with Minnesota for a very long time, San Jose for a very long time. He came very close to winning with the Sharks. Now with the Carolina Hurricanes, he is the old guy without a cup on that team. And for me, I just want to see him win the cup to see if he could somehow fit the entire chalice in that giant backpack that he brings to every game. Do you think he could, if he cleared out enough of the mystery stuff inside that pack, could he fit the cup back there? I say yes. It's like Santa Sack, but in all seriousness, like Burns has put in his time, and if he ever skated the cup as a member of this Carolina team, it would be one of the more heartwarming moments amongst the old guys without a cup in the postseason.
Yeah, absolutely. You love to see that. Kyle Okposo was a recent example. It was really cool to see whenever a player that has paid their dues for a decade plus in the National Hockey League finally raised the Stanley Cup. It's always a wonderful moment. Paul Maurice, even, that moment of elation. That was one of the best cup raises we've ever seen, where he just stared at it and he raised it and his eyes were closed and it was just letting the emotions just overcome him. So, maybe we'll get that with Brent Burns if the Carolina Hurricanes win the Stanley Cup. All right, that does it for us here on The Drop, presented by Xfinity. The Wi-Fi is booming. The Drop, presented by Xfinity. The Wi-Fi is booming. We will have a show next week, I believe, producer Brian, next Monday. So we will be back here. Wyshynski, Öcal, thank you to Brian and Justin, our producers. Thanks to our entire crew. And thank you all for watching. We really appreciate it, and we will see you next time.